Okay, let's move on to the session rules, as every time we do, to remind me you about the rules we have in the session, and at the same time to give you a chance for latecomers to come in and join us in the meeting. Okay, so if you see the slide on the screen, the rules of the session, if you remember, you should mute yourselves, raise your hand to discuss or answer any questions, and don't forget to lower it after you have finished. Write in the chat box if you have something to add or a problem to complain about, and actively participate in the activities, because as I've just told you a while ago, that today inshallah we are going to speak about the speaking skill and how to maximize the speaking skill and to enhance and consolidate the talking time of the learners. So you are learners today here, and you have to practice speaking as much as you can, and I will be listening more than I talk. Okay, inshallah. So let's move on to the learning outcomes of the session. It takes time to share the content here, but no problem. The learning outcomes of this module, as you see in the slide before your eyes, the learning outcomes of this module. By the end of this module, you will be able to recognize the benefits of pair work and group work. So today we are going to discuss the pair work and group work inside the classroom. Okay, how to divide my students into pairs and groups and get them to practice the activities and speak and discuss inside the groups and inside the pairs and that sort of thing. So this helps in maximizing student interaction, the use of the language for my learners. Okay, this is very important because as native speakers do, okay, they use the language in a very natural way. So that's what our students who are learning English, this language, which is maybe it's difficult for them. So we have to train them in interacting together and using the language as if in real life situation. So today's contents, inshallah, is that we are going to give you the strategies, the techniques, the activities that we can use or utilize inside our classrooms in order to achieve this outcome. Okay, maximizing student interaction and speaking time. Okay, so another outcome here is for you to be able to describe a variety of techniques to increase oral communication in the classroom. Okay, as I've just told you, the techniques that will help you increase the oral communication in the classroom, the speaking time of the learners. And you should be able to adapt reading tasks to make them more communicative, not just to tell your learners to read some content and answer some questions. No, you will get them to speak more, discuss, think critically, express themselves at large and freely at the same time. Of course, using the language, the English language. They will not communicate in Arabic. No, we are teaching them English, so they will communicate using the English language. Okay, the first outcome here is how to prepare for you, how to prepare and use communicative speaking activities to help learners practice language. So these are the outcomes of today's session, inshallah. We have, of course, from 5 to 6:30, and then we have a break in between, 10 or 15 minutes to say our prayers and that sort of thing. And then you come back to me at quarter to 7 till, inshallah, till we end our session at maybe 8 or 8:30 as we end our session, inshallah. So let's move on to the first activity I have for you. Actually, you should all be attending today because there are certificates for the training, and people shouldn't be absent for more than, I guess, 2 sessions. Okay, so it's very important that you are here today. All right. No, this is not the one. I'll share it again. Just a second. I just have a question for you. When you are doing a speaking activity, what do you find? Do you find that um okay, just a second, I'll share the slide. Yes, here it is. Okay, just assure me that you see the slide well. Anybody assure me that the slide is clear?
Yes, Miss Marwa, it's clear.
Yes, Miss Marwa.
Okay. Okay, thank Allah, it's clear. Okay, so now before we have anything or before we explain anything, we have a question to think of an answer, and we have multiple choices. So when what do you usually do when teaching speaking inside the classroom? Of course, you are a teacher and you have students and you teach speaking activities or exercises in the book you have, okay? So, what do you usually do when teaching speaking? Of course, we have lots of statements to choose from here according to your experience inside the classroom. So, I have a link of like a survey that you are accustomed to doing. It's Mentimeter. Again, I'll paste the link in the chat box. You have this question. You go there. You press the link or click on it, and you go to Mentimeter, and you choose or tick maybe multiple choices as you like. There is no one only correct answer. No, there are multiple answers according to your real experience inside your classroom. So just a second, I will paste the link here. I have it. It's Mentimeter, and you're accustomed to doing it. It's really interesting and enjoyable at the same time. So I want to find your answers here. So have you found the link? Go to the chat box, press it, or have you found it? I've
Yes.
put it to you. I've pasted it in the chat box. Okay, click on it and you go there to Mentimeter, and I go also. You can read the statements and the question and choose multiple options. You have multiple options to submit. So take your time. You have 2 or 3 minutes to do this. And then you come back to me and we discuss together the topic. You take the answer that you find relevant to your teaching experience. And I'll show you your answers after you have finished. Great. Waiting for all people to answer. Read the statement, and whenever you find that it is relevant or correct according to your teaching experience inside the classroom with your learners, you tick it. Okay? You can tick more than one statement, of course. I'm just waiting for you to end this. I have 7 participants only. You try it. It's very interesting and enjoyable. And it gives me information about how you find speaking inside the classroom. How is your experience there? read all the statements. Okay, I'll show you your answers. Just a second. I will have a like screenshot of your answers here, and I'll show you your answers here. Just give me a second to do this. And we will discuss your answers, by the way. We'll have a discussion about this. So let me show you your answers. Just give me a second here. Okay, have a look at this slide. These are your answers. So if you see carefully, if you look carefully here, you will find that 35% of you use peer and group work inside the classroom when teaching and speaking. Okay, 15% of all people of you like using role plays. Okay, that's great. And 15% again think that fluency is more important than accuracy in speaking. All right. 15% of you believe that speaking is the most important language skill of the four language skills. Okay. 10% of you conduct debates. They have debates, arguments, where you can say you are with or against. There are pros and cons of certain issue or certain idea. So you have debates with your learners. 10% of you conduct debates with your learners. All right. But 5% of you know what's know what an information gap is. 5% only know what information gap is. All right, I accept that, and I will show you and I'll present and explain what information gap is, because it's very important point here today. Zero of you, 0% of you have noisy classrooms. It's very surprising, because I have noisy classrooms. How come that you don't have noisy classrooms? How come? This means that they don't speak, by the way. If they really speak, they will make noise. But when there is on this chart 0% of people, of the teachers here, have noisy classrooms, this means that nobody has noisy classrooms, so the learners don't speak. If they really speak, there will be a lot of noise, but good noise, by the way, you have to know it. 5% of you think the ratio is the proportion, النسبة, okay, of the student to teacher talking time should be 75 to 25. Okay, so little of you, a few people of you think that students should speak much inside the classroom. All right, what's your opinion about this? Can anybody tell me about this? People who use pair and group work. How do you see pair and group work inside the classroom? Pair and group work. Anyway, it's a good indicator about the experience inside the classroom. So good, you have answered like this, because we will build on these results, and I'll tell you about how to increase the speaking time of the learners. So if you can see the slides here, Have a look at it. Can you see it carefully? Just assure me you can see it carefully. You can see it well. Is it clear, my dear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, so this is some
Yes.
kind of okay, like an activity. The picture here on the slide, it's an activity that you as teachers, you have to do it inside the classroom with your learners. You have to demonstrate it. You have to do this activity in your classroom. Okay, maybe it's imagine that it's an activity in the book, an exercise in the book you have, you are teaching for your learners, and you have to do it with your learners. Think and tell me how you will demonstrate this activity, how you will do it with your learners, in what way. So think before you speak. Prepare yourself first before you speak. Think of how you will demonstrate this activity with your learners. Think a little bit. You have maybe 2 minutes to think. Of course, as you see, we have a table having the names, a column of names, and some other columns having a means of transport by bus, by car, by train, on foot, by bicycle, um, blah, blah, blah. And there is a question like, how would you travel to your work? Okay, so this is an activity. Some people have raised their hands. Mrs. Fatima, you have raised your hand. Okay, go ahead to say. Mrs. Fatima Mahmoud, go ahead. Okay, unmute yourself and
Okay,
speak immediately.
okay, Miss. Miss.
Mm-hmm. Good evening.
I can start by explaining the transport, the means of transport to children if I am dealing with young learners. Then
Excellent.
I can ask then I can ask them, how do you come to school?
How they
Yeah.
come to school? Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
I can accept answers by the students and write their names. The one who come by bus, the one who come by car, by train, on foot, by bicycle, and I can
Okay.
begin by myself and I say I come to school on foot and see how many of them can come like me on foot.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So this is your way of presenting it. You have a table on the board, and you first of all you present the new words or the expressions or the means of transport, okay, and you give them an example like saying, "I go to school" or "I go to work," "I travel to work on foot." You yourself as the teacher, and you address the question to your trainees or students, and they have to tell you how they go to school, for example, and you write their names in this column on the board in the table. Very good, I like it. This is one thing. We have too many ways to present this, by the way, and you think and you tell me. So I like this. Yeah, this is what do we call this kind of presentation, this kind of demonstration, I mean. This is what shall we call it, this demo? What do we call this demo or demonstration of the activity like this? If you have a name,
I can say it's find someone who.
but find someone who is another way here, as if you are telling me another answer to the question. You are telling
Yes,
me another demo.
yes.
Just a minute, I'll stop you there. Okay, just a minute, I'll stop you there. The first one, the first way that you suggested, okay, what shall we call it? I'll give you a question and you say yes or no. Shall we call it a whole class activity? A
Yes.
whole a whole class activity, because you have to know that when you told me about the demo, you said that you will talk to the whole class, addressing them or asking them the question and recording their answers, writing the names on the table. Yeah, Mr. Abdelmanem says, is it Mr. Abdelmanem or Mr. Abdelmajid who wrote group work? Some people wrote group work in the chat box. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Fatima. Don't say anything about find someone who now. I need more answers. Yes,
Okay. Yes, Miss
Mr.
Marwa.
Okay, Miss, thank you very much. I need Mr. Abdelmenam or Mr. Abdelmajid who wrote group work.
Abdul
Mr. Abdelmenam, go ahead to tell us about this kind of demo. Although you have a lot of background noise and I can hear myself back, there is an echo coming from yours. Okay, can you tell me about your way of presenting this activity with your learners? You say group work. How?
everybody is expressing himself in the class. يعني every students will express himself how he's going to school.
Yeah, so you form groups and you tell them to speak or discuss this question, you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
in
What?
groups we will who
Mhm.
will go to school on foot, who will go to school by
Okay, it's just that you have lots and lots of echo and background noise, but I understood your point. Okay, I heard you. Okay, mister. Can you just mute yourself because there is a lot of echo. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Abdelmanam. Yeah, I like this answer too. So, another way of doing this activity is group work. You divide your students into groups. Of course, you clarify any difficult word or expression here, the means of transport, as Mrs. Fatima has just said. You present the activity and you clarify it and you explain it to them so that the task is clear for all of them, and you divide them into groups. Yeah, very good. And they have to discuss finding who travels to work or school by bus, for example, and they write the name and they have to speak in groups and discuss together. All right, I like this answer too. So now we have two ways of presenting this activity. What's a third way here? We have a
Yes,
third one.
yes,
Yes,
Marwa.
who is it? Unmute yourself and introduce yourself first.
Miss Heba.
Miss Hiba, yeah, I'm listening to you.
Yes, Miss Marwa. We may use flashcards asking them what is the name of this transport and make they make compare work. Then I check their answers.
Okay, so you use pair work. You divide your students into pairs in order to know what to know the meaning of the transport, the meaning of the means of the transport, or to
Use
answer
use flashcards.
the use of flashcards having the picture of a car, the picture of a bus, and the word under the picture. For example, do you mean like this?
Yes, I mean that.
Okay, after looking at the flashcards and understanding the picture and the word under it, what should they do? What's the task for them?
They should make compare work. Then
To
answer
do what? Yeah, to do what in pairs? They are pairs, two people together.
to answer
Okay, speaking. Hmm.
to uh, to uh, to say what is the name of this transport.
Okay, like this, I'm teaching only vocab, the names of the
Yes,
means of transport, but the activity is not like this. You are trying to collect or gather information about your learners, who goes to work, for example, by bus, who goes to work by car, who goes to
yes.
work by train, who goes on foot, like this. Okay, so this is a bit different from the way how you
This
present.
mean ask them. This means that ask them how do you go? For example, يعني, how do you go to school? Me asking them to make in pair work.
Okay, so in pairs, you first you introduce the activity and clarify the words and the meaning of the means of transport because they are young learners and maybe they don't know the meaning of the word bus or train or blah blah blah, and you tell them to work in pairs together two students together in a pair, and they discuss staying who goes to work by to school, for example, by car, who goes to work by bus, train, on foot, etc. Thank you very much. That's one thing. A third demo here. Thank you very much. We may call that, we may say that peer and group work are together. We put them together in one into one classification. Okay, so one way, one strategy, one technique in teaching this activity. Okay, thank you very much. One more demo. I need one more demo here. Mrs. Fatima has just mentioned it. Who remembers? She has mentioned this in her expressing of the demos suggested according to her viewpoint. Who remembers? She said something different that we have studied, by the way. We have studied it, the module before the last one.
Yes, Miss Maru.
Yes, Mrs. Amira. Okay, go ahead.
She said find someone who.
Yeah, can you just clarify it to us a little bit?
Okay, she will use the pair work or group work and ask these questions. Who do you come? How do you come to school? And
Mm-hmm.
collect names from her student.
That's how we studied the presentation or the demonstration of find someone who. Try to think a little bit and remember the steps of carrying out the find someone who activity. It wasn't like this. It wasn't peer or group work. No, not for the first step of the activity. Remember when we had a table on the board and they had, I need
Yes.
somebody to remind me about this. Find someone who, how to do this activity. This is a typical find someone who activity, by the way.
Web and teaching.
Hmm. Think before you speak. Does anyone remember how to apply find someone who inside the classroom? I will remind you, don't worry. So we have the table on the board, and the students try to copy this table in their notebooks, for example. Of course, they understand it and they understand the question and the columns and the means of transport, and then they mingle, they wander around the class trying to collect information, asking one another, asking everybody in the classroom, how do you go to work? Do you go to work by bus? The question was like this. Do you go to school, for example? Do you go travel to school by bus? If he says yes, this learner writes the other's name in the first column and ticks by bus, for example. Okay, who says by car, he writes his name and ticks the column of by car. Okay, and goes on like this. And they when they finish everything and finish asking everybody in the class and writing their names, they come back to their desks and they report to the teacher saying, for example, Noha travels, using, as you can notice, the present simple tense, okay? Because this is like a present habit, okay? If you remember the uses of the present simple tense. So Noha travels by car. Ali walks to school. He travels to school on foot, okay? Ahmed goes to school by bicycle, all right? So like this, and they have discussion maybe, and you go on to use these words in more and more sentences, and maybe you clarify the present simple tense like this. Find someone who is very interesting if you remember about it, and you have to apply it inside your classroom. I have applied it myself, by the way. It was very interesting, and they liked it. They liked moving around, and they even had fun. And I heard them smiling and like this. Okay, so we had like this, three demos. The first one, whole class activity. You ask your learners, the whole class, you ask them this question: who travels to work by bus? Who travels to work by car? Whoever says yes, me, you write his name or her name in the books. And you have a discussion. And you use the language and you practice the words, the means of transport, for example, and you practice the present simple tense, and you go on to explain it like this. Okay, all right, very interesting actually. And the second way of demonstrating this is pair and group work. You divide your learners into pairs or groups, and they have discussion together to fill in the table. Okay, and you check and you give them feedback on the content and on the language and on everything. So the third one here is the mingle activities. So let me show you the answers here. I'll show you the answers, the three demos. It's called a demo because it's a demonstration. It means a way of carrying out this activity or doing it with my learners. Okay, here are the answers, and here are the more questions for you to answer. We have whole class activity, group activity or pair work, group or pair work, as you have just said, mingle activity, which is find someone who, because it's mingle, they mix, they wander around the class and they ask each other. Okay, so it's called mingle activity. He means the find someone who activity. So which demo was more effective in helping the learners practice language? Can you tell me or think of an answer to this question? Which demo of these three ones was more effective in helping the learners practice language, and why? I'll give you enough time to think of an answer to this question. Think and imagine. I'm waiting for your answers. Whoever knows has an answer, he may write in the chat box or even unmute his or herself and introduce and speak.
Yes, Miss Mar.
Okay, Miss. This is Mrs. Fatima, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
I think find someone who is more active and motivating for especially for young learners, as
Okay.
they will have
Mm-hmm.
fun. First, they will have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Second, they will speak freely with each other and uh, and practice speaking with any instructive manner of the teacher. They are motivating to speak to each other, and errors are avoided in this activity. As a teacher, يعني, as I am a teacher, I can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got your point, but I will ask you a question. Okay, he asks you which demo was more effective, not effective in general, effective in helping the learners practice language, practice speaking. So you say that find someone who, اللي هو mingle activity, okay, like this, find someone who, or the mingle activity is the most effective one or demo because it gets them to speak. Okay, in what way? The speaking is real? I don't think it is real because um, they have, yeah, Mr. Abdelmanem says it's group work. Okay, Mr. I'll listen to your opinion now. I'm just trying to clarify that they say the same question every time. Who travels, for example, do you travel to school by bus? Do you travel to school by car? Do you travel to school on foot? Do you go to school by bicycle? So this is the same question every time, and they just say yes or no. And whenever they say yes, you write their names in the name column, and you go on to another learner and you ask him or her. Okay, so how it is real communication here? So I need somebody else who is, I guess Mr. Abdelmanem, because he said in the chat box group activity. Mrs. Amira, you raised your hand, but I will listen first to Mr. Abdelmanem because he wrote in the chat box group activity.
Okay, Miss Marwa.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Maro. I think group work is more effective.
Okay, why and how? Why? Why do you think like this?
It gives more opportunity to all students or to all the pupils to take a part in
Mm-hmm.
the class. They have more chance to practice language.
Practice language. Don't they practice language in the mingle activity? Don't they practice language in the find someone who activity?
I think group work is more effective than this. I'm just
Oh,
pair work and group work, both of them. But group work for me, I tried it. It's more effective.
yes, Mr. And I am with you. Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you very much. So I listen now to Mrs. Amira.
Yes, Marwa. I won't say group work is more effective because
Mm-hmm.
learners each other and they communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they communicate in groups. Yeah, they communicate more in groups. Okay. Do they feel shy in groups?
No,
All right.
um,
Um,
they don't
all right.
each other. You know, they can.
Sorry?
They don't feel shy from each other than
Yes,
in front of the teacher.
in front of the teacher and in front of the whole class, maybe. Okay. They feel free, as our colleague has just said. Yeah, they feel free. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Okay.
Mrs. Amira. Good job. I agree with you all. So now I have another question for you here, which is very important. What are the benefits and problems of pair or group work? What are the advantages and disadvantages of pair or group work? What are the pros or cons of pair or group work? Think a little bit. If we are dividing students into pairs or into groups and they speak together and they discuss questions, they answer, they speak, blah blah blah, while they are having or doing an activity. So what are the benefits and what are the problems? What are the advantages and disadvantages, the merits and demerits, according to your experience inside the classroom? You just think a little bit and tell me about this. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Marwa.
Okay, introduce me. This is Mrs. Fatima again, I guess. Mr. Samir,
Uh,
just a minute, Mrs. Fatima, because I need new hands and new people to participate today. So Mr. Samir is raising his hand, I guess.
Hello, Miss Marwa. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hello.
hello,
Good evening.
Mr. How you doing?
Good
Mhm.
evening. Thank you. Thank you. I'm raising
Very
my
good.
hand from a long time.
Mhm.
I wanted to explain this exercise or this activity. If I have this activity in a class, I can develop all the communication skills during this activity. Like, as
Which
you said,
demo? Which demo first? Which demo you mean? Which kind of demonstration? Whole class activity or group activity or mingle?
a whole class activity. Whole class activity.
Okay,
In the
okay.
first. In the first, if each student can write his name, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and take the
Mm-hmm.
way he go to school or he go to a place. After that, I can listen. Or whole class can listen to his speaking. Okay, this is listening. During his speaking, this is speaking. After that, can each student write? It's writing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When after all, they can read. After all that, we can share all answers during dictation. Okay, during
Mm-hmm.
dictation activity. So we can develop all communication skills. Are you agree or not
Okay,
with me?
of course, of course,
During
mhm,
all
mhm.
all communication skills can be practiced in this activity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
especially dictation activity. I can stress grammar, vocabulary, uh, steps of writing correctly and clearly. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Samir. Okay. I respect your opinion because this is your experience inside the classroom as a teacher. But let me ask you a question. In the whole class activity, what about shy students who don't want, they are reluctant to speak in front of the whole class? Or weak
Shy
learners who can't? Mhm.
shy student can earn or can gain some confidence, some, not all confidence, but
Mhm.
some confidence, especially at the last of the class, at the end of the class, can earn some confidence.
Do you think,
Uh,
I have another question to you, Mister. Do you think that when they work in groups, the same activity, working for
yes,
students working in groups, do you think that they may practice speaking more freely?
yeah,
Okay.
more
They
freely,
don't feel
yeah,
shy in groups. I mean, in groups
yes,
or pairs.
yes, yes, in groups,
Yeah. So
more
you do
freely.
you think that group activity like this or group work like this and pair work are better in practicing speaking for the all the learners than the whole class activity?
I think group work is better.
Yes, I am with you, of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Samir.
Thank
So
you.
now, okay, now we will be trying to find or answer this question. What are the benefits and problems of pair and group work? Mrs. Sameh,
Yes, miss.
I know you. Okay, Mrs. Sameh, go
Yes.
ahead.
Okay, miss. I think that there are a lot of benefits to pair work and group work. They enable much more language practice for learners, especially in large classes.
Excellent.
Okay, some learners are naturally shy and tend to say little. It helps them. It helps shy learners. Pair work and group work encourage learners to help each other. They can share knowledge and ideas.
Mhm. Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, this is these are two correct answers here. Yeah, very good,
Yes.
Mrs. Sameh. I'm with
The
you, of course. Yeah,
disadvantages, the disadvantages of the two activities, pair work and the group work can be very noisy in the class, and they can disturb colleagues, disturb
very good.
others. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
learners can be difficult to control when they are doing pair or group work.
Excellent. Mm-hmm.
Some
I am, of
teachers
course, I'm with you.
can't control them in large classes.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm with you, of course. All what you have said is correct,
Okay,
actually. Yeah.
there are some learners can make mistakes during pair work and group work.
Mm-hmm. Is it something
Okay.
bad?
Yes, they can make mistakes, and we can't. It's it's not. We can't control these mistakes when they are speaking.
We can delay the feedback after they finish speaking.
Okay.
Okay, no
Okay, but
problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, I know. But making mistakes means that they are experimenting with the language, by the way, and we learn from our mistakes, and they learn from their mistakes. No problem if we monitor them and we take notes, for example, of these mistakes, and after they finish speaking we can go on to provide them with the due feedback or the corrections, or get them to pair correct, for example, or working groups to correct for one another, like this. Yeah, I agree with
the
all
teacher.
you have said. Hmm.
Okay, it's as the role of the teacher. They can correct them after finishing the activity.
All right. Okay, is that all?
Yes, miss.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Samah. All you have said is true. Yeah, I'm with you, of course. Yeah, of course, it's a good practice, giving the students confidence, especially with large numbers, and involving shy learners, for example, as you have just said, to make them feel secure. Yeah, I agree with you. Very good. And about the you said you spoke about the problems or the cons of the use of pair and group work. You said it may be noisy, may disturb others, they make mistakes. Okay, no problem, but we monitor them, but they will make, they will make lots and lots of mistakes, and unless we have some kind of monitoring and taking down and recording the mistakes for later on correction, that would be very bad. Okay, but it is something good as long as we correct them after they finish their fluency time, for example. Yeah, thank you very much. Who else want to tell us about the benefits and problems of pair work or group work?
Yes, Miss Mar.
Okay, Mrs. Fatima, go ahead.
I think there are some benefits for the teacher himself or herself.
And what
One of
these benefits? Mhm.
one of these, it can be saving time instead of asking individuals. Teacher can ask the whole class and they take the answers from the whole class. It in
Mhm.
this way can save time.
Okay.
Uh, Another thing is a variety of activities influences the lesson to increase learners' motivation in doing the activities.
Okay, very good. That's a good idea.
Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
I think also it can be a good way to check students' progress in learning and give the teacher a time to consult the lesson plan and organize the material for the next lesson very well.
How? How does this help? How does group work or peer work help me to plan better for the second time, for the next time?
As
Through
I
through what? It's through something. Yeah. Yeah, it's through what? Mm.
through knowing the common mistakes of the children, I
Excellent.
can I can plan for avoiding these mistakes or recorrect these mistakes in the next lesson.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm with you. Of course, this is correct. Yeah, of course. So what about the problems or the cons, the demerits, the disadvantages of pair or group work?
I think another for what Mrs. Samah has said, I am totally agree with her. But also there is another point that many students can speak in their native language, especially in the class with their members or their partners.
And
Uh,
you and you as a teacher, you will allow them to do this?
no,
This is a teaching, it's in
I can
English.
I can put some certain rules, and the rules they
Excellent.
may be strict for them, and they can go ahead with these rules.
Excellent. Yeah, I like this. That's the point. You are ahead. You are straight to the point. Yeah. You have to have clear instructions. You have to have class management. Very good. For them to adhere to the rules of the activity, not to use Arabic, for example. No, to communicate in English and to achieve the purpose of grouping them or putting them into pairs or groups or having this activity in the first place, because we have been dividing them into groups or pairs in order to achieve this outcome, which is the use of the language freely and spontaneously, and the use of the language as native speakers, as if in real life situation. How come that they are at the end up using the Arabic language? And of course, this is not the point. This is not the outcome. So you have to be a good manager, a good leader over them. So you give them clear instructions, good and strict, and you are firm in giving them the instructions and the orders, and you keep order inside the class, of course. And what if they are not accustomed to doing this kind of activity, the pair or group work? What's your role here? What should you do? What do you suggest?
Uh, I suggested to make them like a competition, and at last I say the winner group or the winner team, to motivate them to the next time to follow my rules, and apply them very well.
Okay, you may also, you may present or introduce the activity slowly over a period of time, over weeks. Okay, all the time, every week you introduce the activity, every week slowly. Okay, not at
Okay.
once, and they are surprised and they are not accustomed to doing this kind of activity. You give them the time, and you introduce it slowly over a period of time, so that they are accustomed to doing it, and familiar with the steps of the activity, the discussion inside the groups, the interaction inside the pairs, and that sort of thing. So this is the point of the module today. So let me show you the answers here to have a look at them. So people who are raising their hands, please lower them. Okay, don't forget to lower your hands after you have answered, please, because this perplexes me, or yeah, this confuses me. Okay, so here are the benefits of pair work and group work, and the problems of pair and group work. The pair and group work is beneficial because, of course, it implies more language practice. Yeah, they practice the language more. It gives them confidence, especially for shy learners who are reluctant to speak. They don't speak because they are shy in front of the teacher and the whole class, but they speak well inside the groups or inside the pairs because they are not shy. They don't feel shy with their classmates. They are like them. Okay. What about feeling secure? Yeah, it gets them to feel secure when expressing themselves in speaking skill. Okay, and it involves more learners. It gets them to peer teaching and correction. For example, if they are in pairs or in groups and they make mistakes, they can correct to one another. So this is peer correction, and they can give each other's instructions and helping each other. They can help each others inside the groups and pairs, so they act like a teacher to their classmates. Okay, this is called peer teaching and peer correction. Okay, it's a very important point or advantage of pair and group work. It gets them to learn how to be responsibility, taking undertaking a whole work, a whole task on their own, okay, to finish and achieve, for example. Okay, so these are very important points when we come to the benefits of pair and group work. What about the problems or the cons of pair and group work? It's noisy. When they are speaking, yeah, all the time they are making noise. The voice is very high and it's disturbing. Yeah, it's hard to control, as you said. Yeah, it's hard to control. It's difficult. It's messy. Okay, so it needs clear instructions. You have to be firm. You have to be strict. And if they are not, as I've just told you, if they are not accustomed to it or familiar with it, it needs to be introduced gradually over a period of time. Okay, slowly, so that they are accustomed to it, and they do it more freely. Okay, it's not strange for them. Okay, that's the point. So let's move on to another question. We are going to have a look at the jigsaw reading activity. And now it's your turn to remember and tell me about what jigsaw reading is and how would we apply it inside our classrooms. Remember when I told you about the jigsaw reading exercise and how we did it? What were the steps of doing it? Think a little bit and don't speak unless you are prepared, well prepared before speaking. I have 2 minutes to remember this. jigsaw reading activity, and it can be also jigsaw listening activity. It's your turn to tell me how to demonstrate the jigsaw reading activity. I need new hands, new participants. We're speaking about speaking, so you have to practice speaking, you yourselves. Okay. Um, Somebody has raised his hand, Mrs. Fatima and Mr. And who else? Because I don't see the full name. I need a new hand, a new participant. So, okay, we have two people here, Mrs. Fatima and somebody else. So let's listen to Mrs. Fatima first, and our other colleague introduces himself or herself after Mrs. Fatima has finished and speak immediately. So, Mrs. Fatima, you can start now to answer my question.
Yes,
Mrs.
Miss Mar.
Fatima Mahmoud.
Yes,
Okay.
Miss. Jigsaw is a cooperative learning strategy in which we can divide the students into groups. These groups are working at home. We call them home groups and expert groups.
No,
Yes,
it's not because they are not called the home groups because they work at home. It's home groups. It means the main group. The main group is called the home group, and we have the expert groups. Okay, and we have to regroup. So say it again, please. Yeah, say it again. Remind us about it again.
yes, we are
Miss Marwa?
dividing students into home groups and the expert groups.
Mm-hmm.
Students start in their home groups. Each student has a different task, but they are related to the same topic that the teacher gives them.
Okay, Mrs.
They,
Fatima, just a second, just a second, just check a second. I will show you a real context for this activity so that you can explain it to me. If we have, for example, a text, a reading text, or it can be a listening also, but let's concentrate on reading now. We have a text, a reading text, which is long, and it discusses the four seasons, for example, the four seasons of the year: the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter. Okay, how would we do this activity having this kind of text, which is
I can
divided into four parts?
I can divide the students for four groups. Each group is responsible for one season. Each a group for the winter, a group for fall, a group for summer, a group for spring, and ask them to give me all the informations about this season. So
Uh, they,
they had
just a second, just a second. They will give you all the information, or they have questions to answer that would be
this
better, for example.
questions. How what is the weather like in this season?
Mhm.
Is it hot or cold, warm? And also the clothes they wear. Maybe the clothes they wear in this season.
Mm-hmm. Okay, after they read and answer the questions, the four groups read and answer the question. Every group reads its section, the section devoted to this group, for example. So after they have finished, they have read and discussed and answered the question. What do we do as teachers? We do something which is very important.
I can tell them to move to the expert groups that brings the information together about the seasons and discuss the same topic with them and with
Okay,
the expert.
just a second, just a second. Oh, the groups, the four groups that have read the parts about the seasons and answered the questions, these are the expert groups. You have to know this. These are called the expert groups. Okay, okay. Put this concept, which is home groups, alone now. Put it aside now. Let's concentrate on this concept, which is the expert groups, the four groups that will read the text devoted to each group and answer the questions. All right, what's the next step that we do? We did
I
something which
ask
is very
I ask the expert group to break apart and return to their home groups
Mhm.
to exchange and share information with the other students in their home groups.
Okay, okay. You regroup them, forming new groups. Every group
Yes,
has a member from each group. So every
as an
every group,
expert.
yeah, yeah. Every group has an expert in certain season, for example. So the new group, an example of a new group that I have formed, has one who has read about the summer, and one who has read about the winter, and one who has read about the autumn, for example, etc. Blah blah blah, and they all tell the others in the group about the answers of the questions, of all the questions they had. So the whole groups have read about the whole four seasons, and they have answered all the questions. Okay. And as you have
Okay.
just said, they share information together and they speak in groups. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. You, as a teacher, thank you, Mrs. Fatima. That's enough. Good job. Well done. I need somebody else. Somebody has raised his hand. Mhm.
Okay,
Because
miss.
I don't. Okay. Who is
Okay,
it?
miss. Okay. A JAX to listening or reading activity
This is,
is an
this
information
is,
gap exercise.
you are Mrs. Samah, right? Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
JAX to listening or reading activity is an information gap exercise. Learners hear or read different parts of a text, then exchange information with others in order to complete a task.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have a question for you here.
Yes.
We have just discussed the steps of doing the jigsaw reading activity and how we form groups, and groups are experts in certain content and they answer the question and they tell each other about the answers, and I regroup them into new groups having different members and they share again their information. Allah is the great. And they share the information, answer the questions. What's the role of the teacher here? What's your role here as a teacher? What should you be doing during this activity that is moving on or happening or taking place?
I
What
organize
should you?
the participation of every group.
Okay, they after during the speaking activity or during the jigsaw activity itself. Where are you? Where will you be sleeping? You will be sleeping
No,
aside.
no, no, no. No,
Supervisor. You will supervise them.
Yes, who is it? Thank you so much, Mrs. Samah. Yes, Mr. Our Mr. Introduce yourself.
Abdulmanan. Abdulmanan.
Yes, Mr. Abdelmanam. You said, I heard you said something. I
You will
heard you say something.
supervise them. You will supervise all and
You
correct.
will supervise and correct. Just a second, because this is very important. Yeah, how to monitor and that sort of thing. You will supervise. You will watch over them. Okay, you will keep an eye on them. Will you correct them immediately while they are discussing? And Mhm.
I will correct
How do you
them.
feel? Immediately during the discussion, you will interrupt them like
No,
this.
no, no. I mean, after each when they finish, for example, I will correct them. I will put in consideration what mistakes they have done, but I will
Uh-huh. Excellent.
finish
So,
their.
yeah, you will correct them after they have finished the activity. But how will you know the mistakes they made? You said it. I heard you say
I
it.
will not them. I will not them. I will
Excellent,
put them in consideration.
excellent, excellent. You will take notes, maybe. Yeah, you will monitor them. You will watch, and you go around the groups, and you make notes. Very good. And after they have finished, you provide the correction. Or is it the only way that you, as a teacher, provide the correction? There is another way. Maybe you do what? Thank you, Mr. Abdelmanam. Thank you so much. I agree with everything you said. Thank you so much. So, any other ways of correction here? There is there are other ways and strategies for correction and for feedback. You are not the only source of correction in the class.
We can
How?
we can ask
Mhm.
students to correct to each other if they know
Yes.
information.
Hmm. Yes, you can get them to group correction or peer correction, right? Okay,
Yes.
good job. That's a good strategy. You may elicit the correct answer from them. You can give them choices. You can get them to help each other. And for example, the one who is a high level learner helps the one who is low level learner, weak learners, uh, get help from the excellent students or clever ones. All right. So this is peer, PEER, peer correction. Okay, and peer teaching at the same time, because when as a learner corrects the mistake of another learner, the first one who corrects is like the teacher. He takes the role of the teacher. So this is like peer teaching. You get them to teach each other. All right. So this is a good point and an important point as well in our module today. Peer teaching and peer correction. Yeah, a good strategy that makes my students speak more than I do. Okay, I have told you at the very beginning of the session in the survey that very few people of you think that the speaking time of the students should be higher than the teacher speaking time. So you, according to your own viewpoint, yes, cooperative learning, yes, Mr. Abdelmanam, yes, that's one thing. So you should actually do something differently, which is the the speaking time for the teacher should be only 25%, and the speaking time for the learners should be 75%. It should be learner centered education, and it happens or takes place or is achieved in groups and pair work and that sort of thing. So, okay, well, good job. We have remembered and we have discussed and we have revised the jigsaw reading activity. And I have to remind you that it may be also jigsaw listening activity, though we had some challenges or cons or demerits or disadvantages of the use of jigsaw listening. We may find it hard because we have to have a room for it. We have to have a lot of resources. Okay, but it's very effective. Yeah, it gets my students to speak more inside the classroom and use the language freely and spontaneously without shyness. Okay, without being or having some kind of controlled practice. So now we have another activity here. We have a text. It's actually divided into three texts: text A, text B, text C. Okay, it deals with or discusses the techniques of promoting speaking in the classroom, how to enhance speaking in the classroom, how to get my students to speak more, to use the language more, to how do I consolidate the speaking time of my learners and maximize it. What are these techniques? What are these strategies? So we have a very long text actually, but it is divided, okay, into three parts: text A and text B and text C. So you will read together every part of them, and we have questions to answer. All right, so let's concentrate on the first text A. Actually, it's on page 18 of your booklet. And if you don't have the book of the teacher, okay, the course book, I will paste now a document that has this text A and the questions again repeated. I have the questions here, three questions on the slide before your eyes. Three questions. So we will read the questions first, okay, to know our task, and then I will put the link of the document of text A for you, because maybe some of you don't have the book, okay? And you read the text and you come back to me in order to discuss the answers to the three questions on the slide. So let's read the first question first. What is our main aim in practicing oral English? According to the first paragraph, we will read a first paragraph. After reading it, we have to answer this question. What's our main aim in practicing oral English? I mean, practicing speaking English. According to the first paragraph, we will find an answer to this. The second question, according to conversation B, this is the conversation is implied in text A that we will read. Okay, what will the British Council give you? It is mentioned in the text also. Number three, how many different pieces of advice are there in conversation A? We will study conversation A and text A, and we will try to find the number of the different pieces of advice implied in this text. All right. So if you have the book, go on to read text A, which is on page 18 of your course book. If you don't have it, just give me a second. I will paste it in the chat box. I have it, don't worry. Text A first. Okay. Of course I have it because I have prepared before the session. Okay. Text A, the link. You know, I even pasted the material that I need in the session. I pasted in the chat box before the meeting. So I joined the meeting, I paste the material in the chat, so I come back to it and paste it again like this, okay? I have to be well prepared in order to know exactly what I am going to do in the session, okay? So here is text A in the chat box. If you don't have it, just click on it and you have the text, read it, please. And think of an answer to the three questions. So you have 5 minutes to read this. I can hear myself back. Mute yourselves, please. Okay, so you read the text A that I have put the link of in the chat box. Click on it and read the text A and answer the three questions on the screen. I will share the screen again, don't worry, to provide you with the questions that you will find answers to. Uh-huh. Here are the questions on the screen, just a second. Mhm. Haha, have you finished?
Yes.
I see some people raising their hands. Go ahead, unmute yourself and speak. Okay, Hiba? Mrs. Hibasola.
Yes.
Okay, have you read the passage?
Yes, I read it.
What about the first question? What's our main aim in practicing oral English according to the first paragraph? Before answering,
Yes.
please,
The main
what does
in
okay?
practice order. Yes.
Well, I have to ask you another question before you answer. What does practicing oral English mean? What do we mean by practicing oral English? He means which
In
skill of
Arabic.
the language? Is it reading, writing, speaking, or listening?
Right? Reading and speaking. Yes, skill, two skill. Reading and speaking.
Oral English. By the way, he means speaking because he means
Listening.
speaking in okay, just a second. He means speaking in particular. He means speaking because in speaking you use the language and you produce language yourself without reading a text. No, he wants to tell you what is our main aim in getting our students to use the language to practice speaking to produce language that is not predictable. No, not to read, not to listen. No, to produce language, to speak orally. He means that. Okay, so go on to answer the question.
The main aim in practicing oral, according to the first paragraph, is advice.
You see that
Advice student.
advising
Yes,
them, advising them to do
advising
what?
them.
Okay,
To do better.
okay. Who has another answer? Do you agree with this? Do you guys agree? I see hands raised, so introduce yourself and speak because I don't see the names. Unmute and introduce yourself and
Yes,
speak.
Miss Mar. Yes, Miss
Uh-huh.
Mar. I think
Uh,
they are practicing a grammar rule only.
in which conversation you mean?
In conversation A, you should.
Oh,
I
okay.
feel
Okay, I am with you, but is this the first question? The first question is what is our main aim, okay, in practicing oral
the
English?
the oral aim is the listening. The students are listening to the teacher, I think.
It's,
Uh, how
I think
come? How? Just a second, Mister. How come that my main aim in getting my students to speak when I want them to speak, this means that my aim in this that I want them to speak to listen to me. How come I want them to speak to produce language? So what's my main aim here? Yes,
actually
mister, you can go. Yeah.
face
Go
to
ahead.
face to face interaction.
You want them to interact in a face-to-face pattern, in a
Yes,
face-to-face way.
yes.
Okay, face-to-face only. That's the main aim. Okay, okay. Oh, all right. I will keep this for now. Do you all agree on this? Do you agree with this? Somebody wants to say something, but just the voice cuts off. Go
Miss Mar.
ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Mrs. Amira.
The aim in practicing oral English is to develop learners' ability to communicate freely.
Okay, to communicate really means to provide some kind of real communication. Of course, this is correct. Thank you very much. Yeah, actually, our main aim when I am trying to get my learners to use the language or to speak and produce English is to use the language freely and spontaneously. okay, to speak as a native speaker. Of course, this is my main aim. I want them to speak the language because speaking is difficult and they can't produce the language. So I want them to be accustomed to that. I want them to practice speaking, okay, to produce the language, to express themselves freely and spontaneously in English, to communicate, to have real communication together, okay, not just repeating some structures or that sort, something like that, okay. So this is the question number one. Thank you all. Okay, what about number two? According to conversation B,
Yes,
yeah,
miss.
Mrs. Amira
Miss
has
Samah.
raised her hand. Mrs. Sameh, okay, Mrs. Sameh.
Yes. Uh, According to conversation B, what will the British Council give you? The British Council will give you a list of language schools in Britain where you could go and study, and they will also tell you if there are any ways of getting a grant or a scholarship, and then you could try.
Excellent, correct answer. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sameh. Yeah, according to conversation B, the British Council will give us a lot of language schools where we can go and study, have grants, scholarship, things like this. Okay, what about number three? How many different pieces of advice are there in conversation A? Somebody wants to say something, but the voice is very far.
Three pieces, Mrs. Maro.
So, yeah, go ahead, mister.
ما
Three?
أعرف. Three pieces
Yes,
of advice.
mister. Yes, correct answer. Yeah, three pieces of uh, uh, advice. Like, you should. That's like this. Okay, thank you very much. So now we will move on to text B. Okay, by the way, it's the whole text is just one very big article or a long essay, okay, but we have divided it into three parts because if we are having it is actually structured for face-to-face training so that we can together do it like or demonstrate it like jigsaw activity, but we don't have this online, so we are trying to read and answer the questions, okay. And there was something else which would be very good here, but it didn't work with me, the breakout rooms. The breakout rooms is a feature of Teams, and every time I come to get you into the rooms something happens and it doesn't work. But getting you into the rooms and grouping you online is also beneficial, and it is available on this application which is Teams, getting you and dividing you into groups, 5 participants, for example, in room one, 5 participants in room two, and you together discuss a certain activity and you speak and answer questions, maybe, and that sort of thing. And you come back to the main room or the main meeting we have to have a discussion together and you report your opinions or your agreements that you have come to and that sort of thing. But now that I can't get you into the breakout rooms, so we have to have some kind of choral discussion like this. So we move on text B and read it for 5 more minutes and answer the questions that I will put on the screen. So give me a second to get you the questions, the 3 questions on text B, and I will paste a link of text B, a document of text B if you don't have the book. So you read and you answer the questions before you rise. So give me a second. I'll get it for you. We are not in a hurry. Okay, I'll tell you something which is very important. Now it's 6:30 and we haven't said our prayers. We haven't performed our prayer. We have uh to pray sunset prayer. Just a second because something went wrong here. So actually we will not read text B now. No, I'll delay it. I'll postpone it after the break. And you have 15 minutes. You go now and you come to me at 6:45. quarter to 7. I mean 6:45 exactly. You say your prayers, you do anything you want, and you come back to me at quarter to 7. So when will you come back to the meeting again? Assure me that you have the appointment.
Quarter to 7.
Quarter to
Quarter to
7.
7.
Yes, we.
All right. So go now and we complete our exercises and activities when we come back, inshallah. Take care till now. Okay. Bye bye.
الاتنين دول قف تسجيل الفيديو الوارد قم بوضع كرة انتظار. طب ما هو أنا مش كاتمة الصوت، عاملة مكبر الصوت أهو جاهز كمان، وفتحت كتم الصوت دي برضو. هنا يكون هم ساعة ما احنا كنا فاتحين وكان في صوت وسمع صوت
أول ما أنا
علينا،
رحت سمحت، بس ساعة ما كنا واقفين
Miss,
سمعت.
Miss, I beg your
ممكن
pardon.
يكون عشان
I beg your pardon, Miss. I beg your pardon. Unmute yourself if you are speaking in private. Okay? We aren't back yet. Don't worry. We aren't back yet. Don't worry. Hey, unmute yourself.
في صوت، في صوت بس بطيء، في صوت بس
Miss, we aren't back. We aren't back. No, don't worry. We aren't back, but we can hear you. Okay? So unmute yourself. Don't worry. We aren't back yet.
طب ما هي جالت لي ميوت، لما اتك على ايه؟ قالت لك ايه؟ لو جالت ميوت يعني الصوت، يعني ميوت يا كاتمت عايزة تكتمي يعني الصوت اللي عندي تعملي فيه
We
ايه؟
can hear you, by the way. We can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Your voice is clear. So unmute yourself. Everybody is not back yet, so don't worry.
الاستاذه اللي بتتكلم المايك اللي جنب الكاميرا دي اضغطي عليه كده، هيعمل شرط، هيكتب لك الصوت.
Oh, who is speaking, by the way? Welcome and hello to our session. Who is it?
مستر علي وزيو مس مروه.
Mr. Ali Siddiq.
علي عبد التواب.
Oh, okay, Mr. Ali, our dear colleague. All right, thank you for help. Thank you very much.
ثانك يو مس مروه.
Okay, so now it's 6:45, so we are back, everybody. Hello, everybody. Everyone is back?
Hello, Miss.
Hello, Miss
Miss.
Marwa, Mr. Yahya with you.
Okay, Mr. Yahya, I hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. So let's go on to complete our session. Before the break, we were about to read text B, all right, and answer the 3 questions on the slide here if you can see it clearly. So now I'll give you maybe 4 minutes this time, 4 minutes to read the text B and provide us with answers to the 3 questions before you rise. So before you read, I will read the questions with you together, and we have to make sure that you understand the questions first. So number 1, conversation B is probably two people talking in private, face to face, and reacting to one another. How is conversation A described? He describes conversation B, and there is a comparison between the two. So you have to describe conversation A. This is the first question. What about the second question? In conversation A, the attention of the learner, okay, is focused on the language they are using and on getting the grammar right. What is the focus on in conversation B? So conversation A sheds the light on only the language and the grammar, okay, the should function, okay, but what's the focus on in conversation B? So question number 3, conversation A is controlled exercise where the language is completely predictable. The language is predictable in conversation A. It's repeated all the time, nothing new about it, okay? It's not different, whichever speaker says it. How is conversation B different? It is different. So how it is different? In what way? So now you go on to read this text, which is B, and you think of answers to these questions, and you come back to me after 4 minutes. 4 minutes after you have read the text, and we have choral discussion. Way I have pasted for people who don't have the book. I have pasted the link of the document which has text B in the chat box for you. So go to the chat box, you will find it. Okay, click on it or press it, and you will find the text. Read it, think of answers, and come back to me. Now, have you finished? Time is up, so it's time for answering the questions. Have you read this part? Everybody? So let's start discussing the first question. Conversation B is probably two people talking in private, face-to-face, and reacting to each other. How is conversation A described? Who can tell me?
Okay, Miss.
All right,
Miss Samah.
I
Okay.
know. Go ahead.
I think his conversation B is considered as a range of structures. Different functions.
Hmm? Okay, he
Mm,
asks you about the way and the pattern of the reaction that's happening in conversation A.
student one ask a question and student B answer these questions in a range of structures.
All right.
Those
How is the
first of
interaction?
all, he said, first of all, you should go and see the British Council. Then step one, step two, step three. Okay.
Okay, thank
Some
you.
structures,
Do
yeah.
you agree? Oh, okay, I agree. Do you agree with your colleague?
It's face to face.
I mean,
Yes, Miss Marwa.
It's face to face.
face
Hello?
to face. What about conversation A? Hello, mister.
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you.
It's face to face.
Okay,
It's a face to face conversation.
this is in conversation B. He asks you about conversation A.
Yes, Miss Marwa.
Marwa.
So it's not face
Thanks,
to face.
mister. It's not face to face. So what it is? You can tell us what is it?
Marwa, it's a public
Miss Marwa.
station.
As Mrs. Amira said, I heard you. Yeah, it's public. It's in front of the whole class. Okay.
It's
So while
predicted.
conversation, it it's predictable. Conversation A,
Predictable
yeah,
response.
yes, I agree that it's predictable. He was just trying to ask you about the kind of interaction. Okay, is it some kind of private or face to face like the conversation B? No, it isn't. It is public, formalized kind of conversation
There is
dominated by the
no
teacher.
chance for conversation.
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead if you have something to add.
Yes, there is no chance for conversation to develop. But in conversation, two people contact with face to face and reacting
Mhm.
to each other.
Thank you so much. Is this the answer to question number 1 or question number 3? Mm-hmm.
Question number one.
All right. What you said is, yeah, correct. But here he still asks you about the kind of interaction, the interaction pattern. It's actually not face to face. No, it's not in private. So it's public.
Yes, it's
Again,
public.
I'll say it again. It's public. Formalized. Yeah, it's structured the same way every time. Nothing strange, nothing new. Okay, so what about number 2? In conversation A, the attention is paid to structure, the grammar. What's the focus is on in conversation B? Conversation B sheds the light,
Yes,
not,
Marwa.
of course. Mhm. What is
In
it?
convers in conversation B, he focuses on communication, true communication.
Real communication. What is he concentrating on?
Grammar correctly.
No, it isn't. The grammar, getting the grammar right, this is in conversation A. We are speaking about conversation B.
To respond to him, to answer his questions.
Excellent. To provide an answer, a response, to convey a message to the listener. Okay?
Focus on
To
the
convey a
message, not
content.
the grammar.
Excellent. The message. Yeah, the message, the content he wants to reply, really, to provide a real reply or response to the speaker. All right. So he reacts to him like providing a real communication. Yeah, very good. So while conversation number 8 focuses on the language and getting the grammar right, the use of should all the time, but conversation B concentrates on the message itself, saying something to the speaker, answering his question, as if in real life situations, real life practice of language. So what about number 3? Conversation is controlled practice or exercise where the language is completely predictable. Yeah, it's known in advance. How is conversation be different? Is it
Okay,
predictable?
miss.
It's not
Okay,
predictable.
miss.
I'm
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable, yeah. You can't predict it. You can't expect or anticipate what the speaker is going to say next. All right, so you listen carefully to what he's trying to say because you do not know it. Okay, you don't know it. So you are eager and you feel this suspense to know what he is going to say, like exactly like in real communication and conversations. Okay, very good. So let's move on to text number C. I pasted the link I have to text C if you don't have the book, again, as I've just done with the other texts. Okay, give me a second to share the questions and the text itself. If you have the book, just go ahead to read it and you still have the questions in the book. But okay, I have pasted the link. I'll bring you the questions. That takes time, so bear me in that and be patient. I'm about to do it. Here are the questions. If you can see the slide clearly this time, I'll read the questions for you. Does the writer think that traditional grammar practice is a complete waste of time? Why or why not? Number 2, how many ways does the writer give of practice that is controlled, but which includes some of the features of real communication? Number 3, name 2 task types that the writer says give learners a purpose for using the language. So you go on to read text C, you will find it on page 19. If you don't have the book, you have the link to the document where the text is on. So just read it. You have 3 minutes only, and you can provide it with answers to these questions. You come back to me, and we have a choral discussion together. Now time is up. Are you ready? Will you
Yes,
read
miss.
this? Okay. What about the first question?
Okay. Miss Samah.
Okay, Mrs. Sameh.
Okay, question number one. Does the writer think that the traditional grammar practice is a complete waste of time? Why? Why not? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The writer say it doesn't mean that traditional grammar practice is a waste of time. On the contrary, it's not a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Yeah,
It's a
correct.
very useful way of practicing the structure should. But this kind of practice alone will not prepare learners very well for real communication in English. They
Excellent.
may
That,
be they may be
mhm.
achieved by giving practice that's controlled, but which also includes some of the features of real communication.
Excellent answer. This is the model answer, actually. Yeah, of course, the traditional grammar practices is something beneficial. No, it's not harmful. It's not a waste of time, a complete waste of time. No, no, it's beneficial. We have to teach them grammar and the use of grammar in context and in role plays and conversations. According to the communicative approach, you can teach grammar by the use of conversations and role play like this. Okay, he just wants you to include or imply some other features of more speaking, real practice, real interaction that is not predictable. Okay, something new, to expect new statements and responses all the time, to react differently. All right, very good, Mrs. Sameh. Thank you very much. Mr. Abdelmenam, I saw you were raising your hand. Go ahead. Question number two.
Question number two. Okay, how many ways does the writer give of practice that is controlled but which includes some of the features of real communication?
Mm-hmm.
Four.
Yes, he is giving four
Yes.
Yes,
examples. Okay, very good, Mr. Abdelmenam. Thank you very much. Yeah, they are four. Can you? Okay, number three.
Yes.
Okay, Miss.
How is it? Introduce yourself first
Miss
and
Samah.
speak.
Miss Samah.
Okay, Mrs.
Okay, name
Samah,
two
you're
tasks.
okay. Okay.
Name two task types that the writer says give learners a purpose for using the language. He mentioned discussion, games, problem solving, information gaps.
Excellent. That's it. That's actually the model answer. Yeah. He named in particular, definitely discussion, games, problem solving, information gap activities. And I will explain to you and we discuss together what information gap activities are. Okay. What are examples of them? What's the benefit of gap fill or activities? Okay. Thank you very much. That was very helpful and wonderful. So let's move on to another part here. Just give me a second. We're going to get acquainted with an activity which is called running dictation. I have provided you, by the way, I have provided you on the WhatsApp group with videos demonstrating this kind of activity. People who watched the video, can you tell us what running dictation is? Whoever is raising his hand, just put your hand down, lower your hand, and then raise it again if you want to answer my new question. Okay, just give me a second. Think of an answer to the question and prepare yourself first before you speak and raise your hand. What is running dictation? People who have watched the video I've put on the WhatsApp group can explain this very well to us.
Yes, Miss Marwa.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Running dictation is the technique where the student work in group
Working groups. Okay.
to dictate the sentence.
Which sentence? Where
Which
is
is
the
the
sentence?
teacher.
Mm-hmm.
There is a runner and the writer in each group.
Uh-huh.
Mm. I
What does
think
the
this is
runner
a
do?
multi-self. Yes.
What does the runner do and what does the writer do?
Runner runner listen and runner speak and the writer. I think that
Why is he called a runner in the first place? Why is he a runner?
leader.
He can be a leader and a speaker at the desk
Yes.
he's sitting at. Why is he called a runner?
Yes. This involving listening, speaking, reading, and writing, four skills.
Okay, Mrs. Heba, thank you very much. I need another volunteer here to add something about this.
Yes,
People who
Miss.
have raised their hands. Okay.
Okay, step number one is the teacher prepares sentence strips in advance. Okay, after that, in class, she divided the class into two groups. Okay, and each into pairs, really, not groups. Each pair
Mhm.
one a runner and one is the writer. Okay, the student who is running, he should run in the class, try to find the sentence and get back to the writer and he said to him.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It seems that you have watched the video. Yeah, this is exactly what happened in the video because this activity has many ways to be done and to be demonstrated. Yeah, this is one way of doing it. Running dictation from its name, it's dictation through running. So maybe you have a text, a reading text, and you provide copies of this text, you hang them on the walls of the classroom, okay, and you have another text. I'm actually trying to explain another way different from what Mrs. Amira has just explained. Okay, so my way of doing it, or the main way of doing it, is having, for example, a reading passage, different scripts or copies of this reading passage hung on the walls, stuck to the walls of the classroom, and another text of this reading passage having gaps, okay, blanks, spaces that the students have to fill in. So you form groups or even pairs, and one of the each group is the runner. He runs to this script that is hung on the wall of the class, and he tries to find the answer reading some sentences as much as he can, and as quickly as he can, and he comes back to the group running, or he comes back to the pair running, okay, and trying to dictate them the sentence or the information or what is should be written in the gap, for example. And the writer writes, and they exchange roles. The writer becomes the runner, and the runner becomes the writer, and the new runner runs to the board, reads the statement, tries to find the answer, and comes back to the group and tries to dictate the correct answer, or to dictate the sentence as a whole. It's possible also. So in either ways, it's very interesting. This is called running dictation. Why do we teach it's or speak about today such an activity? Why? Because it maximizes speaking, because the runner comes back and discusses or speaks to the group or speaks to the other learner or partner in the pair. So you may form pairs of students. One is the runner, one is the writer. He goes, runs, he runs or walks to the walls of the class or to the board to read some sentence or some text, some paragraph, for example, and he comes back to the group walking or running, or comes back to the pair, the other partner in the pair, and he dictates the correct answer, or he provides him with the answer of the question that he has, or he even dictates the whole sentence like this, and they continue. And the group, which will be the winner, is the one who uh, provides the correct answers very quickly, of course. Okay, this is like a competition because it has running or walking. So it's very interesting. So has any one of you ever tried running dictation in the class with his learners?
No, Miss
Have
Mar.
you? It's new to
No.
you. Yeah, I know. Would you promise to try it with your learners because it has a lot of fun? It is fun, and it is also uh, trying to motivate. Yeah, it's a good way to motivate learners to get them to pay
Easy
attention to
and fun.
everything. Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you all watched the video? Because I have the video again if you want to watch. Have you watched the video I put on the WhatsApp group?
We watch it. We watched it.
Eh,
Okay,
Can
how
I
is
add?
it different? Okay, Mr. Abdelmanan. Okay.
Can I, can I add something about
Yeah.
running meditation, Ms. Marwa?
Yes, you can add, of course. Go ahead.
Mr. Ayman Zain with you.
Mr. Ayman. Hello, Mr. You can go ahead. Okay, of course.
Running dictation gets students out of their seats and engages reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. Students
Mm-hmm.
can work in pairs or threes. One person is a designated writer, the other partner is the runner. They can only read and speak. When time starts, one runner from each group runs to the front and memorizes as much text as possible. He or she returns to the writer and reports what was read. The writer writes, this continue until the text is complete. After everyone finishes, pass out copies of the text. Students can check their work and do a follow-up activity.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's it. Yeah, that's the activity. And I have to add something myself. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mister. That has been
Thank,
very helpful. Thank you.
thank.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, the strategy itself is like this. And after they finish the activity, you may get them, by the way, you may get them to peer correct to one another in the group, okay? Or peer correct means in pairs to correct, or correct for to one another in pairs, okay? And you monitor and you watch over them, and you at the end provide the correct answer and comment on the mistakes they have made. Okay, it's very helpful in speaking and practicing the language as if in real life situation, because they say statements, they try to understand the text, they dictate one another, and that sort of thing. Okay, so it's gap filling. Yeah, it's gap filling activity where they have to provide the full content or the full kind of information to one another, so um, they are required to speak, okay, naturally, because they have a purpose and an outcome to achieve. And you are the facilitator of everything. You are the monitor here. You are trying to monitor them and provide them with the model answers, maybe, or even elicit the answers. Okay, so yeah, that has been very beneficial. So I have a question for you here. You have actually to read the real script of this paragraph in front of your eyes. I'll give it to you, and you have to answer me one question, which is very important. That would take maybe 2 minutes only. So let me give it to you. Just give me a second. You have to read this: how to inject more speaking inside your classrooms. Here is the text, and you have to answer me this question. By the way, you have the text and the questions in your booklet, in your course book, all right? So have a look at it also. Don't just neglect it because it's important to be following us. So you have to read this and you have to answer me this question. What techniques and activities are suggested in the text? What are the techniques and activities that are suggested in the text and that would inject more speaking into the classroom? How to get them to speak more? What strategies? What techniques that I can use? What kind of activities? You have just 2 minutes, and you also think of the meaning of the title here of the slide, reading race. You have to tell me what reading race is. Now, can anybody tell me about the techniques and activities
Okay,
that,
okay, Miss.
yes?
Miss
Okay, go
Samah.
ahead. Mrs.
Okay,
Samah, okay.
the two techniques, pair work and group work.
Okay, I agree with you. We have spoken about this from the beginning of the session till now or so far. Thank you very much. Any other volunteers? Any other suggestions?
Discussion and brainstorming also.
Discussion and brainstorming. Is this mentioned here according to the text on the slide?
It is not mentioned, but it is like feedback. It can be equal to brainstorming.
And the answer is correct. Yeah, I accept that. But according to the text, thank you very much, Mister. According to the text, what are these techniques or activities?
Of course, peer work, peer work,
Okay, as our colleague has just
peer
said,
work and group work. Yes, of course.
okay, Mister, thank you very much. Any other ideas or suggestions?
Yes, Miss Marwa. A peer
Uh,
check. Yes,
peer check.
answers.
What do you
Yes.
mean? What do you mean by peer check?
Student uh, can check the answers for each other.
That's it. Very good. Yeah, they can correct the answers to one another. They can check the correct answer to one another. Very good. That's called peer check. This is one thing. What else? Thank you, Mrs. Amira. More participants, more volunteers. Okay, so according to the text, the learners tell each other what they have learned. Okay, for example, at the beginning and end of the lesson, you can get your students or ask them to tell each other in groups or in pairs what they have learned. Okay, or they can tell one another in groups or in pairs something, Allah is great, something personal connected to the topic or lesson, for example. All right, they can peer check, as Mrs. Amira has just said. You can even move a member from each group to another group to check answers. This is one way of getting them to speak more. All right. So yeah, it's very wonderful how you can have alternative techniques all the time for more speaking into the classroom. What is reading race? What's the reading race? It's a race in reading. Can it be like this? From your understanding of the title here? Think a little bit. What's reading race? Is
There
it
is a
like
winner.
there is a winner because it's a race? I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it like the running dictation?
Like
It's
it.
like a sport to motivate the learners to be engaged,
It's a motivation to the learners to do what?
to be more engaged, to join or to be
Yeah, it engages them more and integrates them more and involves
part to participate.
uh, to participate in what way? Somebody is trying to say something. I guess it's a female participant. Thank you very much, Mister. It's a race in reading, maybe having the scripts on the wall again, and they run to the wall because it's a race. They are in groups or in pairs, and they run to the wall there or the whiteboard, and they come back to groups. They run and read some of the text, find the answers of some questions. They come back to the groups or the pairs and dictate or discuss the correct answer to the questions that are there, that the groups have. For example, this is called reading grace, and it's again like running dictation. You can use it, by the way, inside your class. So please try it and come back to me to the WhatsApp group and tell me how it went. What went right, what went wrong. Okay. Yeah, it's exciting to attract them. Yes, Mr. Abdul Manam, it makes more exciting to the learners because it's race again. Who will finish first? Who will provide the correct answers first? Who will walk or run back again? It's like dictation. It's again like dictation, but if they don't dictate, they may provide answers to some questions. All right, they have another task, but it's again a race in reading and understanding and speaking and discussion and that sort of thing. What's your role as a teacher? What you will be doing? You will be sleeping aside in a corner of the class or doing what?
Encouraging them.
Okay, you are of course all the time encouraging them, but you have something else to do here. Monitor, that's the word. Excellent. I see it in the chat box. Monitor. Mr. Abdelmanem said monitor. Yes, and supervisor. You supervise, you monitor. You take notes. Okay, you have a paper and a pen and you take notes, the writing the mistakes that they have done, something good they are doing to stress and to focus on and to consolidate, to reinforce positively maybe. And at the end of the activity you may get them to peer check, to peer correct, and maybe you may elicit answers, elicit the correct answers. You may get one partner or one learner from this group to another group to share information together and to peer check again and that sort of thing. This is again another version of the running dictation, which is called reading race. Yeah, correct their mistakes after finishing. Thank you, Mrs. Samah. Yeah, correct. Yeah, as you have written in the chat box. So now the coming phase or the coming step here in our session today is that you will be exposed to or open to some activities that promote speaking inside the class, and you will read about them, uh, or even provide a demonstration to them. You have to plan for them. You have to tell me how will you demonstrate these activities inside your classrooms. If you are planning for a certain activity, a certain speaking activity, how will you plan for it? What are the steps? What steps will you do before the speaking activity itself? the pre-speaking activity. What will you do during speaking activity? And what is your role after the speaking activity? So you and the learners together, what's the pre-stage, the pre-activity stage, and what's the during activity stage, and what's the post-activity stage? So let's move on to another activity, discussing it together and trying to prepare for it, how to plan for the activity itself. Because we have, I guess, 8 activities that promote speaking inside the classroom. Allah is great. Just give me a second here. I will show you the questions that will help you while you are trying to plan, okay, for this activity. So if you have a look at the slide before your eyes here, you will find questions that will help you in planning for the pre-speaking activity phase and the speaking activity phase itself, during activity, and the post-speaking activity. So for example, if we have an activity like role play activity, doing conversations and dramatizing them as you have been taught before. So how are you going to create a context? What's the context? What's the idea of the role play? Who are the speakers? What will they say like this? And how are you going to introduce the activity? What to tell your learners? What will you say? What are kind of instructions? Okay, what language? For example, vocab, grammar, functional language. Do your learners need to know before they can do the task? Maybe they are young and they have no idea about this, the functional language to use in this role play. Okay, like giving answers, giving questions, answering to the questions in certain tenses. Maybe you have to model them and get them to drill them. Okay, what kind of interaction? Will they be in groups? So it's private face-to-face interaction, or whole class activity, so it's public interaction pattern. Okay, so what kind of interaction pattern does this activity require? How are you going to create it? What are the instructions that you are going to give them to you? Are they long kind of instructions or short ones? For example, formed like chunks, like answer this and read this and answer, read and answer, uh, run and dictate, run and read, then come back and dictate. Okay, short instructions on long one. How to check the understanding of the instructions on the part of your learners? How to check that they understood your instructions? Okay, for example, will you give them questions, checking understanding questions? Will you do it? This is planning phase before you do the activity. Okay, how are you going to provide the demonstration? How are you going to start the activity? How will you start it? And during the speaking activity itself, how are you going to monitor the activity? Maybe remotely, sitting away so far from the groups and watching, having an eye on them, or by making notes and on errors, maybe by helping them or by correcting them immediately or on spot, or some kind of delay correction, delay feedback. How are you going to stop the activity? Do you have an early finisher's task? Okay, how can you extend the task if necessary? The post-speaking activity, after they have finished the activity, how are you going to feedback on the task and on the language, on the content and on the language, on everything? How to provide correction? What to do after the activity? How to provide the follow-up activity if you want to extend the activity? So all these questions have to be in your mind, have to be considered when you are trying to plan for a speaking activity. Okay, so what are kinds of activities that we are going to think of planation for, a preparation for, Mrs. Marwa? We have many. actually today. We have 8 kinds of activities, speaking activities. So let me show you one. And you, of course, people who have looked ahead and read about them in the book, provided some kind of preparation before the session and read the content of the module, will find it more easy to plan for it. So have a look at this. For example, if we have role play, of course you know role play. What are the steps for doing the activity? How would you demonstrate it? Pre-speaking activity, what's your rule and the rule of the learners? During activity, what's your rule? What's the learner's rule? How everything is going to go? What's after the activity? Can you think of that and tell me how you will demonstrate this activity, if any? Of course, you're teachers. Mhm. You may think, you may take your time to think. No problem if I wait for you. Don't speak unless you are prepared. How to demonstrate role play. What to do before the speaking activity itself. What to do during, what are the steps of the during speaking activity. Mm-hmm.
At first, you choose the students, Miss Marwa.
You choose the students. Are you going to do the activity with a number of students and leave the others?
We begin with two students. For example, if the conversation is about for two students, it's according to, for example, if I have a conversation in the text, it's according to how many persons we need for a conversation. If it's two or three or more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Somebody is complaining about the connection. Yes, who is, just a minute, mister. So our colleague was, yeah, our colleague can't hear us. So please leave the meeting and try to log in again, join it again, leave and join. Okay, you can even change the device you are logging in from. Okay, again, this is another solution. Or yeah, I have no suggestions for that because maybe the connection is bad in your city, for example. So try this solution, try to fix this. Okay, I hope things would be better soon. So, yes, Mister, you are trying to find, to prepare or
Okay,
plan
miss.
for it. Now I'm listening to the Mister, he hasn't finished. We're still discussing the first phase here. He says that he will determine first how many speakers. Okay, what about the context, Mister? What the role play will be about? The conversation will be about what? Won't you try to think about this first? What's the context of the conversation itself? Who are the speakers?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. And the
so
guests.
you said
Waiter, for example, a waiter in a restaurant and guests.
a waiter in a restaurant and guests. Okay, so we have two speakers, the waiter and the guest. All right, or the waiter and the customer. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, Mister. Who wants to go on and continue to demonstrate this activity with us? We are still in the pre-speaking phase. We are
Okay,
still
miss.
planning. Okay, Miss, go ahead.
تمام.
I know you, Mrs. Samah. Go ahead.
Okay. I can, as a teacher, can imagine any situation that produce a dialogue between two or more pupils, like, for example, a customer and an assistant. They can
Mm-hmm.
act this situation. The two pupils can act this situation before the whole class.
What's the pre-speaking activity phase? Our colleague said that he will determine the number of speakers we have. 2 speakers, for example, as you said. Yeah, correct. And the context of the role play or conversation itself. It will be, he said, it will be a waiter and guest, and you said it will be shop assistant and the customer. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, what else? What about the language? The language used. Maybe your learners can't form the
I
conversation alone.
I told the students if you want to go to any store to buy anything, what's the conversation between you and the assistant?
Okay, very good. So you are trying to get them to form the language itself needed for the conversation. What if they can't form it? They find it difficult. What's your rule?
I can give them some keywords,
You can scaffold them. Scaffold them. It means you can help them, giving them some functional
some
language.
some keyword, some keywords like how much, can I help you?
Very good. And you can even give them the whole question. Don't worry, you can give them the full question. Yeah, you can come to an agreement on the functional language needed to practice this activity. Yeah, you can present the language and they can drill it. They can even repeat it after you. This is drill. So you model and drill first, model and drill, especially if they are young learners or weak learners. I can hear myself back, so please mute yourselves. I hear myself. Okay, all right. So, what's during? How would we start the activity? What are the instructions before the activity? I need another volunteer and participant. Babies. Oh my God, babies are crying. Hello, babies. Welcome to the session. Oh, baby, please tell your mom to unmute herself, to mute herself. Okay, so what kind of instructions will you provide your learners with here? If you have a conversation, a shop assistant, as our colleague said, and a customer, what will you tell your learners about concerning the structure, the instructions to start the activity? I'm a teacher, and they are my learners. My students, we have a role play about blah blah blah, and the speaker one is blah blah blah, and the speaker two is blah blah blah, and the language we need is blah blah blah. Okay, so now you will start the activity. Now I'm asking you, what kind of instructions will you give to your learners? Give me examples.
Yes, Miss Maru.
Mrs. Amira, go ahead.
Okay, I will tell them that you should listen carefully to each other, or it will be really if they all talk in the same time.
Our colleague said that he will form pairs of students. Okay, so and the speaker one and speaker B is blah blah blah, and the other things that I have just said. Okay, how will they start the activity? They don't know how to do. What will you tell them? What instructions? What directions will you give them? Saying what?
Tell them steps, what they are going to do.
Like what? Give me examples.
For example, if I will tell him what's the first thing like a shop assistant, what the first thing he must do when a customer is entering the shop. He must greet him. He must welcome him. According to
Okay.
the time,
Mhm.
we
Okay.
choose a greeting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
We have agreed that we have all agreed that we have already had the functional language needed and the students have repeated them. Okay, this is the pre-speaking phase or stage of the activity. I mean, what's your coming step? What are instructions? Yes, go ahead, Miss.
Fatma.
Sorry,
Miss Fatma. Miss
Mrs. Fatma.
Fatma.
I know, go ahead.
I can act the conversation to show
Yeah.
them how to go on the conversation.
You can model it.
I mean
You
to
will.
act it.
I know you will model it. You will model it. Okay. You will
Yes.
model the conversation. This is a little bit controlled practice. Again, they will repeat, and that's all. No more different responses. Okay, I just want them to react freely and communicate freely and spontaneously, as we have said at the very beginning of the session. Okay, so I just want to tell you, give them short instructions, made up of chunks, maybe short phrases, clear instructions. Guide them to start the activity, and then during the activity, what's your rule? Okay, Mr. Abdelmanem says that they have to they have to rule play the conversation. Yeah, I know it. Yeah, this is the during activity, the during speaking activity. What are they doing and what you are doing? As you say, yeah, as you say, they are going to role play, dramatize the conversation together, maybe speak more and try to provide more speaking practice, that it is not unpredictable, that sorry, is not predictable, it's unpredictable. Yeah, to use the language freely. What are you going to do?
I
I have
may take notes on the
take,
errors
take notes on their errors. Yeah, taking
or help
recording errors, maybe help,
them
or
correct
help
the
help
correcting
them.
themselves.
Don't interrupt the full the flow of the speaking activity. Let them speak and discuss and ask and answer questions, for example, dramatizing or role playing the conversation together, and you monitor, you delay the correction to the end. What is the post activity, the post speaking activity stage? What you will do and what they will do? You have just said it, by the way. You correct the mistakes or get them to correct to one another. You check everything. You may have some kind of
Them answer
extension
the
answer. Sorry,
let them answer the question and check their answers.
they answer the question. Of course, the conversation is made up
Okay.
of questions and answers already.
Yeah.
You mean to correct the mistakes, maybe?
Correct the mistakes. Yes.
Yes, or get them to correct one another, to peer check and peer correct, like this. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. You may have some kind of follow up or extension of the activity itself, telling them to write the conversation again at home, or record, or some kind of video, provide a video of themselves dramatizing the conversation with one of their family members. This is to follow up, to provide a follow up or extension of the activity itself at home. All right, so they can speak and use the camera or the video to have this, to record this and provide it to the class for the coming sessions or the coming classes, and they show it to the whole class. This is very interesting, by the way, and we will speak about this later on at the end of the session, inshallah. The ideas of giving assignments but concentrating on speaking assignments at home, all right, like providing recordings, videos, that sort of thing. So what about the ball throwing game? Ball throwing game, what is it and how can we prepare it? Ball throwing, from its name, it's ball throwing. Okay, I'll tell you about it. Yeah, it's new. Yeah. So the teacher has a ball in his hand and he has a question, and he says the question and throws the ball to the learner who takes the ball and answers the question. Yeah, as Mr. Abdelmanam says, yeah, the teacher throws a ball. Yeah, he throws a ball and says the question to a certain learner who takes the ball and answers the question. And then this learner asks this question or another question to another learner or a colleague of his and throws the ball to this colleague who will answer the question. Yeah, with a question. Yeah, of course, throwing a ball and saying a question, for example. Okay, asking a question, and the one who gets the ball answers the question, and again the one who has the ball throws the ball to another learner and he answers the question again. So you continue like this till the end of the questions, until till the end of the students you have in class. Okay, it's very interesting and it gets everybody to speak and have fun having the ball and throwing it and that sort of thing. Okay, so how would we plan for it or prepare for it? How to prepare it before we demonstrate the activity itself? What's before the activity and what's during the activity and what's after the activity? Prepare the question. Very good, Mr. Abdel Manam. Yeah, prepare the question. Yeah.
Okay, Miss.
Answer it.
After
Yes,
the
Miss
Okay.
activity,
Marwa.
Oh, I can hear.
before the activity, the teacher
Yes.
can prepare the questions before the activity. After the activity, he corrects the answers to the
What about?
students.
Yeah. And during the
Miss Marwa.
activity, of course, clear. Yeah, I need to listen to somebody else.
Take
Thank you
notes.
so much,
He
Miss.
will take notes to the wrong mistake or the mistakes of the students.
Okay, thank you very much. Who wants to add something?
Yes, Miss Marwa.
Yeah, go ahead.
Miss Heba.
I know you, Miss Hiba. Yeah, I know you are Miss Hiba.
Um, before before ball throwing game, teacher preparing a question to the student. Then during it, he may make a circle to the student. Every every student or student who throw ball, who ask the question, then other student answer the question and take turns about that. After the game, teacher give him or correct their answers.
Thank you so much. Actually, I like this idea of forming circles and throwing the ball in the circle, having fun. Actually, like practical. It's like practical education. Okay, like
Yes.
practical education lessons, physical education. Yeah, it's good. Actually, it's fun, and young learners like this. Thank you very much. Let's move on to
I
another.
listen to
Mhm.
this strategy.
You do it. I understand that you do it from your idea that you have suggested actually. Yeah, thank you very much. You found it interesting,
Yes, I found it.
especially.
And make fun of the students.
Mhm. Do they
Yes,
concentrate
this strategy helps them to understand.
to understand what your voice, you are breaking up, so your voice cuts off. Maybe bad connection today because of the weather actually is not stable. So don't worry. So I can't hear you actually. So have a look at the slide. We have another activity, pyramid discussion. Does anyone know what pyramid discussion is? Do you know what pyramid discussion is? Have you tried it before? Have you ever read about it? Do you hear me first? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, thank Allah you can
Yes.
hear me. So you don't know what pyramid discussion is. So from its name, it's pyramid. It's pyramid coming from the smaller to the larger, for example. So if we are having a task or activity to do, we can form pairs of the whole class. We divide the whole class into pairs, two students, okay, to discuss a point, an idea, or maybe answer a question, okay, or rank certain items. I give them, for example, 5 items. They have to tell me what's the most important, what's the least important, and this is called ranking. They have to rank the 5 items from the most important to the least important. So they are pairs. So the pairs try to discuss, speak, and come to an agreement. They they come to an agreement together. Okay, and then I group pairs, 2 pairs together. So we have a group of 4 students for the whole class, groups of 4 students. I mean, getting 2 pairs together. And again, they rank, they discuss, they speak, deciding what's the most important, what's the least important. They come to an agreement. And then I get 4 pairs of students together. So we have 8 students in one group. Every group has 8 students. Again, they rank and they discuss and they speak. They come to an agreement. What's the most important? What's the least important? Like this. And we again get the groups, bigger groups together for the whole class till the whole class reaches an agreement on the most important items and the least important items. Like this, in a situation like this, and a very important activity for practicing speaking like this, how would you plan for it? What kind of instructions will you give to your learners? Okay, what's the pre-speaking activity phase? What's the during activity phase? And what's the post-activity stage, I mean. So we together, I and you, we have reached an agreement on the items, the basic items. Before the activity, we introduce the activity, right? And we have the language needed, the items that we will rank, the students will rank, okay? And you get them to know what are the steps of the activity, get them the time, the limited time. They shouldn't exceed the time limited. You set rules and you adhere to the rules. They adhere to the rules. Your instructions are clear. And after the activity finishes or is finished, okay, you monitor. You monitor during the activity, but after the activity, you give feedback. You get them to correct, to self correct, to peer correct, to group correct, for example. You help them to extend the exercise at home, writing task at home, for example, preparing a video or a talk on the video, for example, or some kind of recording, okay, while they are speaking, and they give it to you and you show it to the class and you have feedback together, that sort of thing. So this is pyramid discussion. And I know that this is a kind of new activity. Yeah, I know it's new, but it's important for practicing speaking. You get your students to practice speaking in this activity. Okay, I'll give you another activity that you will try to prepare. People who are raising their hands, please put your hands down so that new people who uh, raise their hands are clear for me. I'll give you, for example, the balloon debate. What is a balloon debate activity? What is a balloon debate speaking activity? Do you know it? Have you ever heard about it? Or even tried it in classroom? No, you haven't? Okay, so we have a balloon. We imagine that we have a balloon, my learners, we have a balloon, and there are 5 celebrities, 5 famous persons, 5 VIPs in the balloon. But there is something wrong with the balloon. There is a lot of weight, so we have to throw one of those very important persons from the balloon or out of the balloon. So you form groups of the students, and they have discussion together in the groups, and they have to decide Who is the person who will be thrown out of the balloon? So everybody has to provide reasons for the importance of the celebrity he is speaking about. So I will speak about this person, Mr. Mashukam Child, for example. I will speak about Mr. Mashukam Child. So I will say, I will tell the whole, I'll tell the whole class in my, after speaking in the group, after discussion in the group, I will tell the class that this person is important because certain reasons, and why he can't be thrown out of the balloon. And we continue till the end of the groups. They all have talked and provided the reasons of not throwing this person, and not throwing the other person out of the balloon, and not throwing the, and the strong people who have the strongest talk and reasons are the ones who win. Those who have the weakest reasons, okay, they actually, the person is thrown out of the balloon. This is a balloon debate, and this idea gets them to speak. All right, this is very good for speaking, because they have to discuss, they have to say no, I am right, you know, they are on the side of certain persons. So they are trying to say he is important, why he is important, why should he stay in the balloon, we need him, why do we need him, he is important for us, why. So they speak, they discuss, and you monitor. Okay, do you like this kind of activity, or maybe try to apply it inside your classrooms with your learners, and why? Tell me if you would like to apply it, and why. Waiting for the answers. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Miss.
Mhm.
Yes, Miss Mar.
Do you find it interesting having lots of discussion and speaking?
Yes, it's interesting, really, Miss Maru.
So how would it be if you do it inside the classroom? Imagine that you're demonstrating the activity and how to prepare for it. I've explained it like this. I explained the activity itself, but imagine you are carrying it out. You're performing it with your learners. How would it be? How would it be like?
Okay, Miss Maru.
Mhm.
I will write the word why on the board, okay?
Mhm.
And ask the student to give reasons to support their choice, or anyone, as you said.
Mhm. Yeah. Will you form groups?
Yes, I will form groups.
What's the time limited or assigned to the activity, to the debate in groups, to the discussion in groups? How many minutes will you give them in the groups to discuss before they provide their talks in front of the class? How
About
much will they? Hmm.
5 minutes, I think. I know it's
Okay,
not, but you know,
I know that the time of the period is very limited. Yeah. Okay, you have 5 minutes for the discussion in groups, and you have maybe 4 other times for everybody to provide a talk in the class. Okay, and they vote. They may vote on the and decide on the person who has the best talk. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. What about the post speaking activity phase here? After they have given the vote, the talks, and we voted, and everything is okay, and we knew that this person is going to be thrown out of the balloon, what will we do afterwards? What are your suggestions? Maybe they can write this down. Maybe they can provide a similar scenario like this for next time. Maybe they perform the activity at home with three or more members of their family, and they have a video of this and provide it to the class, or provide the class with for next time, for example. Many ways to extend this activity. And don't forget the feedback phase and correction and that sort of thing. Okay, let's have a look at another activity. I know that when we come to activities, it becomes a little bit hard for you because they are theoretical and they need to be applied in classroom. A lot of explanation, a lot of discussion, a lot of speech on my part to explain everything. And I don't like this actually. I want you to speak more. Have you ever heard of onion rings activity? Onion rings. It is also called the inside or outside circles. You should know this because I have put the video of this on the WhatsApp group. I have provided you with a video on the WhatsApp group. Go ahead.
Miss Marwa, we divide the class into two circles. Each learner should be opposite the other learner. Have 2 or 3 minutes to ask and answer as many questions as possible.
Very
Then
good.
circle have to move to the next learner step like that.
Very good. They move clockwise to the next learner till we have full circle again. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. So, why can we, or when exactly, in what stage in the lesson can we use onion rings? I mean, can we start a lesson using this? Can we revise some items of the or content of the lesson of today, for example, using this activity at the end of the period? Imagine, try to imagine.
I think
I
it's at the end of the lesson.
at the end of the lesson is better to revise some ideas or the content of the lesson itself. Yes,
Yes,
okay, I like this. I like this. They may use it to to perform conversations, to role play conversations, asking questions and answers. Yeah.
yes,
So for
short dialogues.
short, short dialogues, very good. So for people who haven't watched the video, I have to tell them that we have two circles, an inside circle, okay, an inside circle of learners where learners are they are looking outwards, okay, and another outer circle where the learners are looking inwards. Every learner is face to face with another learner, okay, and they have to start the activity, for example, asking some questions or role playing some conversations, okay, or even revising the material of the asking each other what have you learned from today's lesson, and the other learner who is face to face to this learner answers the question and they speak together, and you have to give them limited time for this. And when you clap your hand, okay, they move clockwise to the next learner till we have full circle as I've just told you, and then you have some kind of feedback or more circles like this. It's very interesting and you can use with young learners. Okay, imagine how it is interesting. So, will you decide to apply it in classroom, or do you find that it is not relevant? Yeah. Will you apply it, or you think that no, I will not apply this? Why and why not? Mm-hmm.
I
You
think
have no
it's
idea.
I think it's it's useful and it will be very fun for the young learners.
Yes, yeah, they like to form like Fattahi Ya Warda activity. That's the song. This, yeah, it's like it. Yeah, it's a little bit like it, but not the same. But yeah, it's fun and it's enjoyable. And if it is used to practice the language through speaking and practicing the speaking skill itself, that would be wonderful. Okay, so try it. Mr. Abdul Minam, please, can you tell me why? Why not? You're against the use of this activity. Why wouldn't you apply it in classroom? You say no, I will not apply it. Why? You feel that it is not, maybe it's not suitable for the level of your learners, not suitable for the age. You need an open place, not a excellent point. That's it. That's what I want somebody to say from the very beginning of speaking about this activity. Yeah, it needs an open area. It needs a room for this. Yes, yeah, that's the problem. But maybe we can, every time, we can apply it for a small group of learners. And we say, inshallah, next lesson, next period, or next class, inshallah, we will apply it with some other groups of students, for example. Okay, you just organize the whole thing. It's more effective for sorry, I can't read the whole comment, so you can unmute yourself and speak and say it. Kindergarten, you see that
Okay, miss.
it is not suitable
Okay,
for
miss.
kindergarten, for KG. Yes, miss, go ahead.
I think it's very fun and enjoyable for students, but it needs a lot of time and a lot of يعني, a wide place.
Yes. Okay, but you can adapt it. You can adapt it. You can
We can.
adjust it.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, to suit the resources we have.
Easy. It's
Easy.
easy.
Yeah,
We do it.
it's easy and fun, and go ahead to do it. Yeah, it gets them to speak. It gets them to revise the material. Thank you very much. So now we can even move to another activity if you would like, if you have the time and desire to do this. Okay, let me choose another kind of activity. The last one I will choose here. For example, survival. Yeah, survival activity. This is the last activity that I will choose here. And then we end the session, don't worry. Okay, have you ever heard about the survival activity? Again, it's a speaking activity. What's survival activity? Or maybe I should uh, clarify this kind of activity for you and elaborate on it. All right, so survival means that we have an imaginary situation. I can tell my learners, oh, my dear students, imagine maybe like a game. Every activity is like a game, by the way, Mr. Abdul Manam. Okay, maybe I'll tell my students exactly like this. We have somebody wants to write something. Okay, write whatever you want to write, and I read it, of course. So, my dear students, imagine that you have crashed in the jungle, for example, and you are away from your family, and you have a bag, and there are 20 items you have. You all the group that have crashed in the jungle, and they are there remote and alone. Okay, they have to walk a long distance to get help. Okay, so they have to carry a bag and they have 20 items. What five items are the most important to put in the bag and carry and go on to get help all this long uh, distance? Okay, or all this way round, for example.
So you have to form groups. You, the teacher, you introduce the activity. You form groups, and they have to decide again, like a debate, again a discussion, again. They have to decide. They have to rank again. What's the most important 5 items? So before the activity, you have to write on the board the 20 items they have. Okay, so that they can choose the 5 ones from this. Okay, and you form groups and they start discussion. They have limited time. You give them clear instructions. They discuss, they decide, and you monitor. And at the end, you all, the whole class votes for the most important 5. The whole class reaches an agreement on the most important 5 important items to take in the bag, or to put in the bag or take with you while you are trying to seek help. Okay, so this kind of activity again is good when you need to get your students to speak more and have discussions, and it's ranking. So they use critical thinking, and they discuss and they evaluate and analyze, and they practice the HOTS. Do you remember what HOTS are? Who can tell me what HOTS are? What are the HOTS? Remember, try to remember. The HOTS unlock.
Yes,
Hi,
Miss Marwa.
yes.
The
The
HOTS
HOTS,
are the high order thinking skills.
the HOTS are the high order thinking skills that come at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. What are they? What are these skills?
Analyzing, evaluating, creating solutions.
Very good. Excellent, Mrs. Fatima. Thank you very much. So it's
Thank you.
analyzing the situation, analyzing the problem, for example, evaluating the solutions I have or the hypothesis I have, for example, creating solutions, deciding on ideas, deciding on which solution to find, for example, or to perform or carry out, for example. This is called critical thinking skills or high order thinking skills. They are very important because they get your students to use their mind. And again, with this activity, they do this and they speak at the same time, and you monitor and you get them to correct, and you have a follow up, for example, or extension of the activity at home. Excellent way, actually, and excellent activities. So, will you apply it in class? Do you find it relevant? Do you find it easy to apply? Or you may decide, no, no, I will not do this. It's not relevant. No, I don't find it suitable for the age of my students, for example. How do you see? What's your opinion about this? Survival. We need to survive, so we rank certain items. We have to make some decisions. We have to decide what to take with us and what to leave behind us. Do you find it interesting? Do you hear me first? Assure me that my voice is clear.
Yes, miss.
Okay, will you apply it in class? It's easy, by the way.
Yes.
Do you find it relevant? Okay, I understand that you will do this. Okay, so by far we have been discussing the speaking activities and what are the preparation steps and that sort of thing too. I ask you now to read the learning outcomes of the module, and now write in the chat box if we have really achieved the outcomes of the module. If you have a question for me to answer, okay, I'm ready. Just write it down in the chat box. So think and read the outcomes and write in the chat box if you have a question, or to assure me that we have covered the outcomes of the module. Think and write. If you have any question, okay, you're welcome.
Any difficult points? By the way, I have to tell you that I will provide you, inshallah, on the WhatsApp group. I will provide you with two files, for example, more information about more and more activities to do to practice speaking and to get your students um, to practice speaking. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mister. You're welcome anytime. And I will provide you also with some kind of examples of activities that you can make use of as a speaking assignment that your learners can do at home. Okay, yeah, I can give you suggestions like this on the WhatsApp group, and I, inshallah, will help you if you find them difficult or you don't understand them. I'm there, don't worry. We still have the WhatsApp group. This is not the end of everything. Yeah, I know that this is the last session of the course for this year, inshallah, or for part one of the course. But we are still brothers and sisters together, and I learn from you. Thanks a bunch. You are welcome. You are my brothers and sisters. Still, I'm here if you have any question to ask or any point for me to elaborate on. Thank you so much. Think, think of the content of the session. If you need any help, yeah, I can help you. So you don't have any questions? Okay, I want to say happy Ramadan, and Allah helps and supports you and makes you, inshallah, able to fast Ramadan the way that pleases Allah. And I wish you all the best. And I will say it again, you are not my trainees, of course. No, you are my brothers and sisters. And I have been very happy to be with you. Thank you so much. And I am with you, inshallah, on the WhatsApp group. If you need any help, we can have a discussion anytime. You can message me in private as well. And it had been a great honor and a great pleasure for me to be with you. And if I have any information about some further courses, I will go on to tell you on the WhatsApp group. Okay, so of course you will have certificates of this course, so that would be very very good and motivating for you. Okay, it would be wonderful. Yeah. So for more information about the content of the module, have a look at the websites and reading section you have in the module. And thank you very much. This is the end of the session. Have a nice time and take care, everybody. Yeah, I have this great honor. Thank you very much. Happy Ramadan. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care, my dear. Take care. I will just stop the recording and you can go now.